The Philippines faces devastating Typhoon Kalmaegi. This week brought another critical weather crisis to the Philippines when Typhoon Tino, known globally as Typhoon Kalmaegi, tore through the central Visayas region during the early hours of Tuesday. After entering Philippine territorial waters on Monday evening, the massive storm struck the eastern shoreline of Leyte before traversing through Samar, Cebu, Bohol, and Negros Islands. Packing sustained wind speeds of up to 165 kilometers per hour with gusts approaching 185 kilometers per hour, Typhoon Tino caused massive flooding, electrical blackouts, and catastrophic damage that impacted thousands of households and prompted more than 150,000 people to flee from high-risk zones. Based on data from the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration, PAGASA, the typhoon's core was positioned roughly 285 kilometers east-southeast of Guian, eastern Samar, at 11 a.m. Tuesday. The weather system was advancing west-northwest at speeds between 22 and 25 kilometers per hour, delivering torrential rains and powerful winds while cutting across the nation's midsection. PAGASA released multiple tropical cyclone wind warnings for territories in eastern Visayas, central Visayas, and portions of western Visayas, alerting residents to potential flash flooding, mudslides, and threatening ocean conditions. Despite the typhoon's interaction with elevated terrain, weather specialists warned it would maintain its strength as a formidable tropical system until exiting into the West Philippine Sea later that day. The Visayas region experienced the most severe consequences, with numerous provinces suffering major flooding and wind-related destruction. In Cebu City, water depths increased dramatically during nighttime hours, engulfing cars and compelling families to evacuate to elevated locations. Rescue workers deployed inflatable boats to access trapped citizens, while community radio networks maintained constant alert broadcasts advising people to remain inside and avoid crossing flooded waterways. The provinces of Leyte and southern Leyte confronted especially dire circumstances as rivers burst their banks and sudden floods surged through populated districts. Settlements near Mount Conlon on Negros Island received heightened warnings due to concerns that intense precipitation might initiate volcanic debris flows or slope failures. Numerous small fishing villages became temporarily isolated as transportation routes became unusable and electrical infrastructure collapsed beneath toppled trees. Government representatives confirmed the initial fatality Tuesday morning, an aged man from southern Leyte who was carried away by rapidly moving floodwaters. Subsequent reports from regional authorities and global news organizations, including the Associated Press, documented a second death in Bohol, where fierce winds caused a massive tree to collapse onto a moving vehicle. Though the official casualty count stayed minimal, the storm's complete toll remained under evaluation as rescue teams worked to access remote settlements. PAGASA characterized Typhoon Tino as the 20th tropical storm to strike the Philippines in 2025, highlighting that the nation's vulnerability to extreme weather events has escalated in recent years. Evacuation operations proceeded rapidly throughout the central island chain. Municipal governments in eastern Samar, Leyte, and Cebu implemented emergency measures before the storm's arrival, transferring tens of thousands of citizens from beachfront and landslide-susceptible zones to approved shelters. Educational facilities, religious buildings, and sports complexes were transformed into evacuation facilities, offering temporary accommodation for storm-displaced individuals. The Philippine Coast Guard halted all maritime transportation across the Central Island network, stranding over 3,000 travelers at harbor terminals. Principal air carriers canceled numerous flights to and from Cebu, Iloilo, and Tacloban, attributing the decisions to severe crosswinds and limited visibility. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. directed the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council to organize rescue missions and guarantee rapid deployment of critical resources, including food supplies, potable water, and thermal blankets. In an official announcement, he conveyed compassion for impacted families and reminded regional leaders to emphasize security and readiness. "We must stay alert," the president declared. "Our citizens have weathered storms previously, and collectively we will rebuild from this challenge as well." Government humanitarian organizations, assisted by the Philippine Red Cross and community volunteers, commenced distributing assistance Tuesday afternoon, concentrating on flood-ravaged communities in Leyte and Cebu. Images from throughout the Visayas demonstrated the storm's devastating force. In Cebu and southern Leyte, inhabitants recounted rooftops ripped from structures, banana farms destroyed, and automobiles flipped by tremendous winds. Overhead photography revealed whole districts submerged beneath murky waters with only building tops exposed. Agricultural workers reported devastating crop losses just weeks prior to harvesting season, sparking worries about immediate food scarcity in countryside locations. Electrical disruptions affected millions of residences as power transmission networks sustained damage, and repair operations were anticipated to require multiple days once weather permitted. Weather analysts projected that Typhoon Tino would maintain its westward trajectory and emerge above the West Philippine Sea by late Tuesday or early Wednesday morning. The Japan Meteorological Agency, alongside the U.S. Joint Typhoon Warning Center, verified that the weather system might moderately strengthen as it traveled across open ocean before advancing toward Vietnam or southern China during the following week. Officials recommended that maritime workers and coastal inhabitants exercise caution as powerful swells and dangerous maritime conditions might continue even following the typhoon's departure. The Philippines, an island nation comprising over 7,000 islands, ranks among the world's most disaster-vulnerable countries, encountering an average of 20 tropical storms annually. Scientists have cautioned that elevated ocean temperatures throughout the Pacific are fueling the growing frequency and ferocity of storms like Typhoon Tino. Environmental researchers have additionally observed that metropolitan expansion and forest removal are intensifying flooding consequences as natural defenses such as mangrove forests and tree coverage continue diminishing.
Alas 4 pa daw sa kadlawon ang tubig na daw diri dapita kanang nay akasya da munang nahurot yun sila og